Tenney of New York.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the witnesses. This is a really important issue. I'm a small employer up in upstate New York, and there has been serious systemic problems with unemployment insurance in this program, and as particularly in the state of New York. There have been over 11 billion fraudulent unemployment payments since 2020. Yet, despite this figure, New York has only recovered a small fraction of that. New York is one of only 2 states, along with California, that remains delinquent on its loans borrowed from the Federal Unemployment Trust Fund and the COVID-19, and that was from the COVID-19 pandemic. The failure of Albany, and it's run by the Democrats right now, is one-party rule all across the board, to repay the debts will force employers to bear the burden of these increased federal unemployment taxes. Until this debt remains, and it has been a tremendous burden, has forced businesses to close in upstate New York. It's really heartbreaking, and I just think it's worthy of note that last year in our meeting on February of, I believe it was 2023, we had the Inspector General here to discuss this unemployment at our last Ways and Means full committee hearing. And I asked the Inspector General about New York, and he specifically said, we tasked the governor of New York at the time, it was Governor Cuomo, in 2011, to change the systems in place, the computer systems, the technology, or you're going to have a real serious problem with fraud. And we ended up with that. And guess who's paying the price? Our beleaguered employers in upstate New York. And so because of this fiscal mismanagement and these real-world consequences, they're hiking this federal unemployment tax. It really particularly hits the smaller businesses, a lot of restaurants, a lot of businesses forced to close, and also those who are unable to find people to replace them. That's why I joined my colleague. I'm happy to join with Michelle Steele of California. We introduced legislation to protect employers in our respective states, New York and California. The small businesses in New York and also California should not be punished because of their state government's incompetence. And it really is a huge concern because we do have programs to help people temporarily move into unemployment in their attempt to get a new job. So I appreciate all the ideas and the tasks that you have here. And I first want to just say thank you to Colonel Strickland for your innovation and reading your testimony and hearing your testimony today on what you've done on trying to get people back into the workforce, particularly veterans, and I appreciate that. My son just became a major yesterday in the Marine Corps, so it was kind of a fun to pin his little oak leaf cluster on him yesterday. And so, but I know that we have so many incredible people that serve in our military who can convert those skills into the private sector when they go into their new careers. And so I thought maybe what you might explain to us in enhancing what you talked about, how you actually got people back to work, how this detrimental effect of our work shortage, how did you get businesses to deal with initiatives to get people back into the workforce in light of some of the issues we have today, where people almost have more incentives to stay home than they do to go to work? How do you inspire people to get out, go to work, take care of their families, pay taxes that we need for some of our services? How did you do that? And I'd love to hear about it, especially with your unique background as a military member.
Thank you for the opportunity to respond to that. And it's something that we are very passionate about. And when we started this 5 years ago in our group, we were not happy with the progress being made. And so we met and said, we're going to make a difference. And this all started on a cocktail napkin among competitors in industry, among our training aspects of the Alabama Community College system, and among our government. And we sat down and said, how do we get people inspired to a new tomorrow? We need to find something they're passionate about, and we need to reduce the barriers to entry. So when we started these courses, it started with a skid steer and a pile of rocks, a pile of aggregates. And we had people come in to learn this single piece of equipment, and everybody agreed that we're going to work together to make a difference. And then down the road, when we're finished with this, we're going to compete over hiring them to get them back into our workforce. Because if we don't have a better workforce, there's nothing to compete with down the road. And these individuals, if I could tell one quick story. So as we did the first pilot group, somebody went through and he thought he was going to earn a new job. And three classes down the road, I happened to be there, and he came up and hugged my neck. And he said, I want to thank you and the committee for what you're doing, because I thought I was getting a new job, but this didn't change my pay. It changed my family and my kids' futures, because you changed our level of income so that now I can offer more to my kids and offer more for their future. And that is how we inspire a new tomorrow to them. We all want good. We all love this nation.
So your company invests in getting new people during that transition period where they're training and getting them off unemployment and getting into your business. Is that
Yes, ma'am. And originally, we didn't know it was funded by a grant. We didn't know if we were going to get it. And the partners in industry went to our training aspect and we said, if we don't get the grant, we will write a check to cover the first year of training. Now, mind you, none of us wanted to, but we were willing to. And luckily, the grant came through. And when I mentioned in my testimony, we trained over 3,000 Alabamians. None of those 3,000 Alabamians have paid a cent for their training. It has all been through grants that we have enabled them to a new tomorrow.
Well, thank you so much. My time has expired, but thank you to everyone. I appreciate your insight.
Thank you. Recognize Ms. Moore of Wisconsin.